Hi, everyone. I'm Jeanette Mulvey, the editor-in-chief of Co. by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Co. Roadmap for Rebuilding, our series aimed at helping you recover and grow your business. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today. So today we're talking about scaling your business. We'll discuss new ideas for helping you expand your reach to new markets and customers. And then we'll share tips and strategies on how you can use technology to help scale your business. As we go along, you can answer our poll questions and ask the speakers questions of your own by using the box on the right side of your screen. Now, before we get started, I want to thank our event partners, Oracle NetSuite and Spectrum Reach, and our supporting sponsors, ADP, FedEx, MetLife, Square, and Staples Connect. We appreciate your partnership in this series. So we'll start today's discussion with a conversation on reaching new markets. I want to welcome our first panelist. We have Michelle Aragon, Vice President of Brand Marketing and Strategy at Spectrum Reach. And we have two small business owners here to share their perspectives. We have Justin Croxton, the CEO of Propellant Media, which is a digital media agency, and Sara Irvani, CEO of Okabashi Brands, which is a US-based shoe manufacturer. So welcome to all three of you.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you. Michelle, I want to start the conversation with you. So to stay competitive, especially in this market, small businesses really have to reach out to existing customers and new customers on new platforms. And that has to constantly keep evolving as technology changes. So can you just talk a little bit about how the changing nature of technology impacts small businesses' decisions on how they do that?
Sure, yeah. As technology advances, consumption shifts. The mobile phone kind of changed everything, and allowing for people to have a powerful computer in their pockets. And so that means that customers have new places to access content. And so that really means that businesses need to think about new ways to connect with audiences. And so here's kind of some thoughts about how you can kind of approach that. And thank you for sharing that about new versus existing. I think it's sometimes it's easy to focus on acquisition when organic growth is just as powerful. So the first thing that I would recommend is kind of knowing your customers. I think that's first and foremost the most critical thing for you to think about. And once you know who your customers are, then it's easier to find more of those customers in your marketing tactics. The other thing is creating awareness and interest. And while sometimes that might seem easier said than done, or mass channels might not be a way of thinking about that typically these days, it's a really easy way to get mass reach through a platform like TV. And for instance, it's a lot more accessible now. We at Spectrum Reach have a tool that's called the Ad Portal, and it's super easy to go on your laptop and actually set up a campaign in a matter of minutes. And so that's something for businesses to consider, that technology has now allowed you to do things much easier and make your jobs and lives a lot easier. And last but not least, I'd say attracting customers through meaningful content. Creating valuable content. I mean, content's kind of everything, right? And what is the valuable content that you're able to provide both new and existing customers about how to use things, how to share, what to share, or just things that, again, make their own personal or professional lives easier. And then you focus on ensuring that they can find your content through your SEO strategies, your social media, and of course.
Great. So you talked a little bit about misconceptions, but I'd like you to maybe focus on that a little bit more. Like, what are some of the most common misconceptions small businesses have about the strategy and process of expanding to new audiences and in new places, whether they're virtual places or physical?
Yeah, I think the most important misconception has been the focus or the first going to digital or using only digital advertising. Digital advertising is definitely important, but it's not the only way to efficiently and effectively grow a business. The reality is that digital is excellent at lower funnel call to action conversions, but you also need to have a strategy that accounts for the entire customer journey. And this type of approach includes upper funnel activities like awareness and brand building, and middle funnel activities like education and engagement. So again, this is why it's critical for you to know who your customers are, so you can create that content and map your tactics and your messaging to the right touch points along a journey. It's really about attracting, informing, and converting in a way that sets up the foundation for continued engagement and loyalty.
So you talk about it's important to know who your customer is. And I think that as businesses are more aware of the need to build relationships with customers who are all different and come from multicultural backgrounds and different perspectives. And so can you talk a little bit about, as you're building out your new marketing campaigns, and you know that your audience is very diverse in the truest sense of the word, how can people think about that when they're reaching out to such diverse and multicultural audiences?
Yeah, we actually just went through a big campaign that we launched in May, and we at Spectrum Reach, we believe that businesses thrive when communities connect. And this means really helping businesses connect with multicultural audiences. We all know that, the US is a giant mosaic of diverse local communities. And so we've always been champions of small business. And while there isn't a one size fits all answer, there's kind of three approaches that you can take as you consider doing this. One is to ensure that you have that right media mix. So again, what I was speaking about in kind of upper funnel, middle funnel, lower funnel tactics, and just know that viewing habits have changed and evolved, and multicultural audiences are no longer only consuming endemic and in-language environments such as BET vision. Like for instance, maybe they're watching that in one setting, or they're watching an English language in another. It's you have to find where they're at the time that's right to connect with them at the right message. Ensuring your creative messaging is equally as important. And so it has to be an inclusive and culturally relevant message. Keeping in mind, obviously, there are local nuances across the US, and you need to make sure that your messaging matches that media vehicle, and that you're able to kind of deliver that more customized content and creative that really resonates, and people can see themselves reflected in your marketing. And this is incredibly important as you're looking to connect with various kinds of communities. And last but not least, in this kind of new world, and with all these new technologies, you should really think about how you're taking a privacy-centric approach, especially as you seek to understand your customers. People talk a lot about data, and so it's important to work with media partners who provide privacy-compliant insights, because actionable insights are critical as you determine your media mix and messaging to find your right audience, and again, identify what's the right time and who will be the most open to receiving your marketing messages. We at Spectrum Reach, we use aggregated and de-identified data, and that, again, that you always want to make sure to maintain that privacy-centric approach.
Great, thank you. Michelle, I'm going to bring in Justin and Sara now, and we will come back to you in the audience Q&A. Justin, thank you for being here today. I said that you run a digital media agency, but it's a digital marketing agency, just to clarify.
Yeah, mixture of marketing and technology.
Yes. So your company has experienced a lot of growth over the last couple of years. So can you talk about how you made that happen? How did you grow so much?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to add on to Michelle's point on multicultural advertising, because it was a great answer in just what she talked about as far as personalization. The one other thing that I want to add on top of that is, there's been cases where even for us at Propellant Media, we work with hospital brands, and let's say that hospital brand, they have about 40% of their customer base is African American, but their marketing team out of 15 people, it might only be one person that's African American that works inside of that marketing team itself. So to kind of really get on top of what Michelle was saying, it's so important to have those individuals working inside of your organization. And at the very least, you are going directly to that audience, trying to understand and ask them survey-based questions, relative to the product and the service that you're offering as an organization. I just want to put that out there because, I think Michelle put it perfectly. I just want to add on top of that. In terms of Propellant Media, sort of our growth and where we've gone as an organization, we were founded about 5 years ago, give or take. And there was there's a couple of things that really allowed us to differentiate as an organization. The first is we focused a lot on geofencing marketing. For those who don't know, geofencing gives you the ability to serve ads to people in very precise areas. I mean, all the way down to the contours of a building. So if you're a restaurant, if you want to, target your competitor restaurants and just target, the consumers that go there, you can actually do that with geofencing. Or if you're a car dealership and you want to, target individuals that are, going to other car brands, you can do that as well. We really honed in on that. And I think it was more so the differentiated strategy and focusing on that allowed us to scale. But the other thing for us was really just investing in ourselves. A lot of times you have marketing agencies, they're, pounding the pavement, they're, working on their referrals. But for us, we really do try to practice what we preach. We do a lot of our own digital marketing, our own digital advertising, our own SEO for our own organization. And then, the last thing is we just kind of bet on ourselves. Even when, as one of the partners for myself, I was kind of nervous to put myself out there and, put out videos on digital advertising and geofencing. And I just said, screw it. I'm just going to actually do it. And, becoming the face of the organization and sort of having the rest of our team want to do that as well, I think, takes off that corporate veil and gets the consumer connected with your organization as well. Those are the three things that I think made us different and that allowed us to grow at the clip that we have. And so we've really enjoyed that experience thus far.
Great, thank you. Sara, you also have been growing. The last time I interviewed you was in person, and you had just that very day received a big phone call from Target, but it was like top secret, so we couldn't talk about it. So tell me what has happened since then. That was about 2 years ago, I think.
Yes, well, it's been definitely an exciting time. We've been championing sustainably made in USA footwear for 37 years now. So we've seen the whole world change in so many different ways. And, for the past 2 years plus, we've been working with Target, and we are so proud to be working with them with men's, women's and kids footwear. So this year we actually launched a really sweet rain boot and a camp shoe. And what we really focus on is the recyclability and circularity with our products. So we use recycling within our manufacturing process, and we invite customers to send them back to us. And as a family operated manufacturing company, we also sort of deeply engage with our team, and Target has sort of acknowledged and celebrated this, and they're championing sustainably made in USA with us, which is very exciting. And one little comment is that I just love that notion of betting on yourself that Justin mentioned, and I think that's totally the case. And every day, every morning that an entrepreneur wakes up, that's what it feels like. Today, I'm going to put all my energy into betting on myself. So it very much resonated.
Yeah, I agree. That was a great way of looking at it. I'm going to go back to Justin now. Actually, thank you, Sara. Justin, I know that you I want to dig in a little bit to the technology and the tools that people are actually using to grow their businesses. So I know that you rely on HubSpot a lot. Can you talk a little bit about, I think our audience probably has heard of HubSpot, but a lot of people may not use it because it may seem a little overwhelming. Can you talk about like the 3 things that you use HubSpot for?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give everybody sort of a little background for those who don't know, HubSpot is a marketing, sales, automation, CRM platform. Essentially allows you to, make your marketing and sales efforts way more efficient as well as more effective. And it's funny, back in 2017 when we were sort of thinking about, some new technology, and I was like, man, we got to spend that much per month on this platform. And even before then, I was like, oh, I hate HubSpot. I can't stand it. And then when I officially became a business owner, I said, okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and make the investment. And the rest is history. Um, it's been without question, when I think about the three different investments that we've made in this organization, HubSpot by far is top three, hands down. There's a few things that we've utilized it for. Of course, CRM, being able to see, who our customers are, who are, leads that's coming into our organization are, just having a sense of what that looks like. But there's been three things. The first is we've been able to utilize it for email marketing strategy. And I say that's so important because a lot of people think that when a consumer or customer comes to your website, that's the point in which they should be buying from you. And I think we all know that even if you're considering your own shopping behaviors, that absolutely does not happen. Usually there's some level of a nurturing experience that you need to deploy in order to ensure that you're staying in front of that individual, you're adding value to that individual. And that also goes on top of what Michelle was saying around understanding that customer journey, knowing that that person may actually not convert for a month, 2 months, 3 months. And so using HubSpot, we've been able to leverage sort of their email marketing automation part of it, where we can nurture individuals for close to 3, 4, 5 months, adding value, not so much just constantly selling. That's really been a differentiator for us. The second thing, and I mean, you can kind of experience this even if you went to our website at propellant.media, what you'll notice is we actually have a pop-up that shows up on our website, and it gives people an opportunity to download one of our guides. And the reason why I bring that up as an example is that single-handedly doubled, I believe it, at the point in which we implemented that, it doubled our conversion rates just like that. And if you think about all the money that you're putting into advertising, into brand building, all these different things, the investment that you make in conversion rate optimization automatically reduces your cost per customer acquisition. So for us, that was a huge win for our team. And then last but not least, we also want to make it a little easier for individuals to get in contact with us. And so we actually also have a chat bot on our website. And I think HubSpot has that feature throughout their software as well. A lot of folks can leverage that. It automates the process while still allowing someone to get in contact with you relatively quickly. Those three things, I mean, there's a lot of other things within HubSpot, but those three things, without a doubt, has been a game changer for us. And that's sort of how we've sort of, one of the main tools that we've utilized to help scale and grow our organization.
Great. I like that that was so specific. Sara, same question for you, sort of. What technology do you use to connect with, to find, identify, and connect with new customers? And for you, who are these new customers? Are they mostly retailers, or are you also marketing direct to the consumer?
We do both. Work with wholesale and partners as well as individual customers. I think on it's sort of two very different approaches, whether you're doing which audience you're trying to target. On the partnership approach, I think it's knowing your landscape, knowing your imagination, and good reach out first starts with doing the basic research in depth in terms of understanding who would be a good partner. And then, whether it's a LinkedIn message, whether it's an email, ideally it's a referral, whatever it takes, it'll take a lot, and it will take a lot of perseverance. And there are some conversations that, it took me 30 reach outs before I got a response back. But I think what's important is that you persevere if you really think that it's going to be a good mutual match. And sometimes you need to get creative, like I've written handwritten letters before. And add it to the mix, and that's been really successful as well. On the consumer side, I think it's about storytelling. There are talks about content before. I think that's very much the case, and sort of using all different avenues as well.
I love that we go from handwritten letters to the most technologically sophisticated, and that they all work. So that's great. We're going to go to the audience Q&A in a moment, but first we're going to take an audience poll. So audience, you can answer on the right-hand side of your screen. The question is, where are you currently in your plans to scale your business? It's always nice to see where our audience is. So it looks like that a lot of our audience is in some form of expansion. So they are already doing it, or they're taking those first steps, or they're just starting to think about it. So, and it's interesting that I would bet those people, for expansion probably means all different things for those companies. So I'm glad that we're able to talk specifics, but also more generalization in terms of the technology. I'm going to take us to the audience Q&A now. So let's see what we have. Michelle, I'm going to go to you first. How has streaming TV changed the advertising game? Should businesses put more money in multi-screen ads and streaming ads as opposed to traditional TV?
Yeah, so going back to how has technology changed the way that consumers consume things, streaming has become incredibly valuable, and it's kind of the bright, shiny object of the day, if you will. And I'm not suggesting that streaming is not important, because it is. There's a lot of people who have cut the cord and who are watching via streaming efforts, but going back to what I was saying about that, finding the right mix, there's never kind of like a silver bullet, so to speak, that you're going to just put all of your dollars in one channel and it's going to do everything you want. And so it's critical to think about things in multi-screen and think about yourself as a consumer. You don't just watch one thing on, your living room TV or via your phone or your tablet or your, whatever else technology piece that you have to access content on. And so, to say, it's hard to say one is better than the other. However, here at Spectrum Reach, we have done some proprietary research where we've shown that there is incremental reach extension if you add streaming to a traditional television buy and vice versa. And clearly, if you buy streaming and add traditional TV to the mix, it's a massive increase in percentage. I want to say it's like 300% or something like that, because the scale of traditional so much more than streaming. While streaming is in a massive growth, right now it's still in a very small scale as compared to traditional TV. So you always want to complementing with both.
Great. Justin, I'm coming to you. This person liked what you said about the concept of nurturing. So can you talk a little bit more about that idea of nurturing and how that helps you scale?
Yeah, absolutely. I can use client examples, but I'll just use, even just Propellant Media as an example. When a lead comes to our organization, we have a sequence where we actually reach out to them from a sales perspective. But then we also have sort of a slew of content and sort of a drip feed sequence and emails. Occasionally, we may have one of the folks from our team call that person, but usually it's via email. And we're trying to think about what are the burning questions, the challenges, the concerns that consumer has that both we can answer while at the same time educating them, bring some significant value to their lives, and outside of it being just a sort of a sales thing that we're just doing effectively. And when I think about nurturing, that's the level of nurturing that I think is required across many different industries. I mean, certain industries, you may not want to have, a 5-month, 6-month nurturing program. In certain cases that you may want it to just be for 1 month, let's say. But for us, part of the thinking has been we've developed so much content, so much video content, so many case studies, so many examples where it says, all right, well, sometimes you got to hit someone in different ways. Kind of going back to what Michelle was saying, you just don't, you're never always going to reach someone at the perfect moment when they show up on your website or they see your ad, through over-the-top TV, connected TV advertising placements. So if someone's not converting at that stage, there's a good chance, or at least hopefully a decent chance, and you're giving yourself an additional shot to nurture that individual, assuming that you've gotten their email address. And even if you haven't gotten their email address, you also have what's called site retargeting, where you can retarget individuals who have been to your website, and then reach those individuals to, again, raise sort of that top of mind awareness for your brand and for your organization. And so, I like to call it here at Propellant Media that you don't want to, it's marketing malpractice to put all of your eggs in one basket. And part of that nurturing process is diversifying your marketing spend and having that also include that nurturing program. It's just, I can't stress that enough for small business owners and brands that are out there. I really can't stress that enough if there's any point that I get across to everybody.
Thank you. Sara, one for you. Although if you want to talk about nurturing in your business as well, Sara, you may have something to add to that. But also this person asks, as a US-based manufacturer, what are some of the ways that you stay competitive? And maybe those two things have something to do with each other. So I'll let you answer that.
I definitely think that they do. It's about, when we think about our not only our customer base, but our team, we really think about a lens of nurturing. We call ourselves sort of the Okabashi family here, and having that long-term view, not that one-off conversion, whether it's a one-off interaction, whether it's a conversion on a website or an interaction at work. How do you develop things to sort of foster for the long term? In terms of then staying competitive, I think it's about all working together as a team. Manufacturing is inherently complex, add on sort of the sales and operations and everything that also goes into running a sort of traditional business. We would not be able to do it without building a culture that is the framework for that activity. And I think in terms of, dollars and cents, staying competitive in that sense, it's about being creative and critically thinking and staying lean as well. So it's a whole combination of things that makes it possible. And on the receiving side, really, when you think about who you want to do business for, when you're designing your business, make sure that you choose partners that care about your values and choose you for you as a company.
Yeah,
thank you, Sara. So that is actually all we have time for on this part of our discussion. So I'm going to say goodbye to Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your advice.
Thank you so much for having me.
Michelle.
You're welcome. Thank you. And Sara and Justin are going to stay with me for the second half of this event. So next, we're going to talk about technology and how technology is really allowing small businesses to streamline their processes. And so we will focus on that and how streamlining your processes will help you grow and expand the scale of your business. So to talk about that with us, we have Thomas Sutter, who is from Oracle NetSuite's Global Solutions Center of Excellence. And Thomas is based in London, so center is actually spelled R-E. I just want everyone to know. Thomas works with business owners on ways to implement technology in their operations every day, and he is here to share his advice with us. So hi, Thomas, welcome.
Hello.
Let's just talk right from the beginning. How do you even define what an efficient business is?
So again, I'm looking at it from, heavily that finance accounting side of things. But if you're going to have an efficient business, then, it's the business partnering. And I know a lot of small businesses kind of think, well, how are we going to business partner? We're a small business right now. But again, ultimately, it's what you're going to be able to use in your business. And so let's just start with some of these things are, one is the visibility and control. You want not just your finance team, right? It's the entire business needs the visibility and control of what's going on. Michelle had mentioned know your customers. Again, you need that visibility of that information, but it's also the efficiency. So visibility, but once you have that visibility, okay, how efficient are you at looking at that information, the detailed information, or how efficient are you at putting more information into your systems to get better visibility? It's all kind of going in a circle. And then really third on top of that is going to be automation. So in today's world, scaling, et cetera, you're looking for automation, but you don't have to start off, or even when you're scaling, you don't have to have everything automated. Okay. No one's saying 100% of everything has to be automated. You're looking for things that are standard as possible. Everything as much as standard, great. Those can be automated. And then what you do is you manage by exception. But you need the visibility of what is an exception. You need the efficiency to be able to handle it as that exception. So again, I think those are the kind of the three things that make an efficient business are visibility, efficiency, and automation.
Great. So if you, assuming that you have found a way to create an efficient business and now you're ready to grow that business, can you just talk about like how you think about scaling a business and what you think are kind of the three key most important strategies for doing that?
Sure. So again, now, how do we get visibility, efficiency, automation? So of course, the first one is often technology. People are always going to talk about technology. That's great. Things that you're probably looking for are things like a single database, right? One place where everything is at, and that way it's very efficient to get reports out of that system. But really, more importantly, on the technology side of things, you're looking for technology that you can make improvements yourself, that you don't just have it implemented and use standard functionality, but then that's all you get. You want the functionality, the technology that you yourself can actually make improvements. So that's the first thing, technology. But the other one is processes, and these processes are going to be some are going to be inside the technology, but not everything is inside the technology. And ultimately, you will have processes that are done by technology, but then if you have that visibility and it's efficient to get the information out of the system, then you could have a process that's external, maybe import something back into the system. So all of that is what you're kind of looking for the technology. And really the third thing that's most important here is the people. And so it's the people that are using the technology, using the processes, but people that can really think outside the box, people that can, make improvements. So like I said, you need the technology that you can improve yourself. So you're looking for people that can take processes that are outside the system, and how do we put them into the system? How can we actually use that? And in today's world, things are changing so fast. You're not looking for somebody to be an expert in every area. So these people have to have soft skills, right? They have to have soft skills that if you're going to scale into certain regions, territories, if there's new requirements you need to meet, that really, these people have the soft skills to talk to the experts, take what they need, and then go into the technology and make improvements themselves towards better visibility, better efficiency, and to automate more as well, so that there's not as much kind of external.
Yeah, I like that point about businesses being able to adapt the technology themselves as they grow. If I were a small business owner listening today and I was one of those people in that group, we took a poll before that was just thinking about scaling. If I were one of those people, I would now be overwhelmed and not know what to do. So if you're a small business and you're really just thinking about what is my first step towards growing my business, obviously that first step is different for every business depending on who they are and what they do. But what do you recommend generally as a way of thinking about what your first step should be?
So you won't be able to do anything without a good foundation, right? You always hear this kind of you have to have a good foundation. So you're looking for a good foundation in that technology, process, and people in order to give your business the visibility, efficiency, automation. It's a long road, right? Don't think you have to jump in and have everything built out so that, where you're basically, you don't want everything to handle the fully scaled business that you hope it will become. And you don't even know exactly where it's going to go because things change so fast. So you want that good foundation. Use standard functionality as much as possible, right? Unless it's a legal requirement or helps you beat your competition, then absolutely you could try to customize it. But use it as standard as much as possible. But then you go up the stairway. You're making improvements yourself. Every time, you change a report, you change a workflow, everything that you're doing, more business partnering. How do we give the other departments more visibility of what's going on in our business? All of these improvements along the way. And so that's ultimately, I think, the first step you need to do is just get the foundation. If you don't have the foundation in place, the problem is you're already going to be struggling. You could have two of those three, and trust me, I've seen it. You're always going to struggle. That's why I came up with kind of this list of 3 things, is just based on experience. And if you have that good foundation, you start using it, you're familiar with it, everything's going on, then no matter what the board and the senior management decide to do, you're able to say, you know what, I can help you. And if you've only just started on this journey, then, you're going to help them. You've got a good foundation. You can help them a little bit. But if you've already gone up this kind of stairway, you've made improvements along the way, that when they say, let's do something crazy, there's a great opportunity here. Actually, if you've gone up the stairway, technology, process, and people, everything's in place for the whole business, then you're actually going to, with these decisions, it's a lot, because all you're doing then is adding on to the technology. You're improving the processes and everything, and you'll actually help the business with those decisions.
So technology, process, and people. I think that's a great 3 words for people to remember. I'm going to bring Justin and Sara in now, and we'll come back to you, Thomas, when we get back to the Q&A. So Justin, as your company grew, much like Thomas is describing, there's all kinds of things that have to happen internally, and your employees have to adapt. So can you talk a little bit about that? What did growth look like, and how did you automate new processes internally?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was tough. I just gotta throw that out there. I mean, it was challenging. I think, sort of to dovetail on that last question around was the first step, and also, sort of the challenges that we experienced. For us, I knew that, as sort of the managing partner here at the organization, I had to consistently think about what technology can we implement that reduces the time that I'm spending on that action, but that action can still be done effectively and efficiently without me constantly having to oversee it. I think, for us, without a doubt, it was HubSpot, and, had to essentially just tell our team, you got to get on board. There's really not a choice here, in documenting what that process looks like, with our team, so they understand that, hey, this is the vision that we have for our sales team. When the lead comes in and we do a handoff to you, this is how you should respond. It's getting documented. They all understand that. And, at first there may have been a little bit of, maybe a touch of pushback, but not a lot. And once you've sort of baked in that process and you see that it's actually working for you, the team sees that the leads are coming in, and, they're able to, book appointments and have some, intimate discussions with them. At that point, it becomes easier. And so for us, that was the one piece. And then, to Tom's other point on visibility, there was a period of time where we really didn't have full visibility of our financials. We didn't understand our balance sheets, our profit loss statements, our accounts receivables, and everything else. And so, there's a lot of software that's out there. One that we leverage, you probably know about, is QuickBooks. But not only do we utilize QuickBooks for a lot of our invoicing, but we use it sort of as our executive view into both our finances, but also allows us to make some firm decisions on what's working and what's not, from a cash flow perspective, from a profit loss standpoint. So we're able to, that's been one of the biggest ways that we've been able to scale our organization from that standpoint. And at least for me, being the CEO, I'm able to really see what's happening at a top level, and thinking through what new technology I can implement that takes time off of my plate, and I can just see something relatively quickly versus having to do a ton of calculations and go into bank statements and all that jazz. And so, at first it was tough, but over time, you just keep looking through all the challenges that you're experiencing, and you just keep pushing forward, and that's what it's been for us.
Thank you. Sara, one of the things that I learned from you is that the word sustainability, while it does apply to how you manufacture your product and concept of circularity, which is repurposing the product, but you also think of sustainability in terms of how you manage your people, your team. Can you talk about that concept?
Of course. Well, I think, sustainability, a little bit like automation, which is a word that can mean different things to different people. And I think that the comments that preceded this were really helpful to sort of explain the different aspects and what's involved in automation and the why. And the same thing with sustainability. It's about looking at a product or a process across a life cycle and saying, is this something that can be repeated indefinitely? Is it something that can be sustained? And when we look at products, often we look at, okay, well, what is it made of? But then also, how is it made? And a key part of that is, how are the people who make the products treated, or in what environment is it? And so we really look at all the different stages. For us, our material is made in USA. It's 45% soy by weight. It's, it's vegan, sort of all of these different elements. It's bio preferred. And then, what is the environment that the team is in? What is also then looking at the middle stage of the life cycle? What is the durability of the product? And with the closed loop, how does it then avoid landfills and oceans? So when you think about these sort of big concepts, you can sort of break them down in so many different ways. And sustainable for us is planet and people.
I'm going to stick with you for a second, Sara, because I like that you are always thinking about the people, but then you obviously also are using technology to streamline your operations and grow your business. So can you talk a little bit about technology and what you're really relying on most heavily?
Yes, I mean, for us, we are using technology a lot to organize the information. There are thousands and millions of data points that we have with the production systems, with orders, with inventory. So what structures can we use to organize information to know what is where? And I think that can be applied across not just manufacturing businesses, but all over. And then how do we cut the information and organize the data to drive insights? And from there, how do we use technology to effectively communicate with each other about those insights? And I think that sort of broadly are the different buckets with which we use technology, more on the organization than on the physical side, but just sort of makes us make better decisions and work together better as a team.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Before we go to the audience Q&A, we are going to take another poll. So for the audience, on the right-hand side of your screen, the question is, in one or two words, what is the biggest benefit to adding technology to your business? So efficiency, not surprisingly, is one of the most popular answers. Streamlining, accuracy, productivity, speed, time savings. Metrics is one I see here that we haven't talked about, but I think that's a really key thing for businesses, because if you are making changes and then you're not measuring the outcome, how do you know if it's working? And you need to have that feedback loop all the time. So, all right, audience, thank you for voting on that. And now we are going to go to the Q&A. So give me just 1 second. So, Thomas, I'm going to come back to you. What are some of the most common mistakes business owners can make in planning when they're trying to grow a business?
Honestly, right? It goes back to that technology process people, and that's that you wait too long to improve your the technology process people for your accounting and finance team. And I get it. When you're starting a business, you want to build a product and service. You then want to try to sell that, deliver it. I get it. And regardless of the technology and process that the finance people have been given, they get the job done. That's their job. We work till midnight, weekends, on holidays. We will work and get the job done. So, like Justin was saying earlier about, investing in ourselves, before you scale, make sure you take time, invest into that technology process and people. And I'm telling you, once you get that good foundation in technology and processes, you already have the people. The people will surprise you. You don't know it yet because they're often doing the same thing manually over and over, the same type of reconciliations, journal entries, or in other departments, they're doing the same things over and over. But if you improve technology and process, make everybody more efficient, give them a chance to use their education, their experience, they know your industry, they know your company, they'll surprise you and they'll come up with some really good ideas for how to improve the entire business.
You said, Thomas, that your employees are doing the same things over and over again, and talked about manual data entry. And I think that's something we saw in the poll is just also we don't talk enough about just how many mistakes are made because processes aren't automated. So I think that was an interesting point from that perspective as well. Justin, I'm coming to you. I just feel like you're going to be a cheerleader for this person, so don't let me down. I lost their question. I'm going to just rephrase it my own way. It was saying, they said, how does an older non-millennial business owner or marketing manager overcome anxiety of learning new technology platforms in marketing? And how can they get up to speed quickly so that they can lead their team?
Oh, that's a really good question. I understand the concern, not because I'm a non-millennial, because I am still a millennial. I'm 38 years old. But because, I understand it can feel daunting. There's so many different layers of technology and platforms that we can, leverage to scale our enterprises. And this may sound, not to push back, but to, just kind of make this point. Whether you are, call it, 55, 60, 65 years old, or even 40 years old, you have to put yourself in a place where we all operate in a capitalistic society with a lot of competition and individuals who are working their butts off to scale their enterprises and take market share from their competition, in most cases, let's say. And, a lot of times it can feel daunting as, someone who's really not fully up to speed with technology to say, I'm not sure about that. I don't feel comfortable, doing the proper research or, looking into that as a solution, for my enterprise. But, a lot of times you just gotta do it like Nike, just do it, right? You gotta get yourself in that mindset. And at the very least, tap into other individuals that you trust, other millennials. If you're not a millennial, like Tom was saying, having more trust in the people, which quite frankly is the most important aspect of any organization. Having that partnership, as well as you sort of having that thirst for knowledge when you do have the time, so that you can make the proper decisions on what technology you should implement for your enterprise. Don't sit there and just say, "Oh, I'm not quite sure what the what the platform is, and I'm not technologically savvy." And we all can read. We all can do research. We all can figure certain things out. And at the very least, you can reach out to someone within your organization that may be a little more technologically savvy and partner with you, so you're starting to feel more comfortable. But I'm just going to tell everybody that's out there, don't use that as an excuse. Everybody that's on this webinar, on this call, is more than capable of understanding all the different software platforms, and at the very least, creating a partnership with other millennials in your organization, or having them shepherd that effort to ensure you all are implementing the technology that's going to make the difference in terms of effectiveness and efficiency in your processes, and what you're trying to do within your organization. So I'll just put that out there for everyone.
Thank you. I knew you were going to come through for me on that. Sara, I feel like you will be able to answer this. What are the warning signs that your business may be growing too fast? And how do you put the brakes on that without sabotaging your efforts?
I think that there are two things when scaling a business that you want to keep in mind. The first one is super unsexy. Look at your working capital requirements. Look at who you're partnering with. Make sure that you financially are responsible and you know what getting to the next level means in terms of financial commitment. If you aren't as strong financially, make sure that you find partners, mentors, friends, colleagues that are, so that you can map that out from a financial perspective. And then the other element is, again, going back to people. When you scale with the same team, everyone is doing more work. Everyone is putting in more hours. And what you need to do is make sure that you automate the processes that you can, that you bring in technology so that you can scale with that team, but do make sure that you're doing pulse checks and make sure that everyone is emotionally there, that morale is high, that growth is exciting, but a lot of the work that goes into growth is tough work. So I would say, look at the financials, but then just have conversations and check in as you're scaling up.
Thank you. I don't know if you noticed, Sara, but I said sabotage your business, which I think is like a shoe reference. The word sabotage, I think, is a shoe thing. So
yes, well, I think sabot is another word for shoe as well.
Yeah, something like throwing the shoes in the machine or something. Anyway, Thomas, this person says there are lots of technical solutions and digital processes available to businesses. How do you cut through the noise and land on the best solution for you? So I'm going to rephrase that question just a little bit and just wonder if you could give some advice on how to just almost like a matchmaker, how do you make a good match between your business and its needs and the technology solution that you choose?
Sure. The one thing I haven't mentioned was, so if you think of, technology, take away technology, and you have to go all the way back to when there was paper. And, there was then a huge jump when you went to mainframe computers. And then there was a huge jump when you went to software, and the businesses took off. They've expanded. Everybody's had a great time with software, but there were still some problems. And I think the one thing that you're trying to look for now is when you think of the cloud, right? But it's the true cloud. This is the same jump from paper to mainframe, mainframe to software. This isn't just software into the cloud. This is taking an entire jump to the true cloud, which is where everyone is on the same version. That you're not downloading anything and putting it onto your hard drive. Everything is, every user is on the same version. What that means is that the product teams, in the old days with software, you'd build more functionality out for efficiency, visibility, automation. You would build it out, but no one would get to use it yet, because then they would have to buy it, implement it, and everything. When you're in that true cloud and everybody's on the same version, the product companies and even their partners, through open APIs and stuff like that, they're able to build this new functionality. And when they make it accessible, you're talking about every customer using that technology has access to that functionality. And that's sort of kind of the thing with all those companies out there. That's one thing that I saw and didn't quite understand. It took me a while until I really saw how fast the industry is now moving. There's so much new functionality growing not even every year, it's every 6 months. growing so fast, and it's purely because everybody's now moving into that kind of true cloud. Everybody's on that same version.
Right. Thank you. We only have a couple minutes left. So, Justin and Sara, I want to ask you what I thought was the most fun question that we got. Sara, you first. The person just says, before Justin talked about placing a bet on yourself. So, Sara, this person wants to know, what is the biggest bet you have ever placed on yourself?
I think 4.5 years ago, I'm sort of third generation shoemaker. My father was looking to retire. And so I jumped in as CEO of Okabashi Brands. Manufacturing business, been around 35 years, with a dedicated team. And I just was an incredible responsibility to jump in and to be steward for the next generation. And that was a big bet that I put on myself, and that I was grateful that the team welcomed me, and that they did the bet too, but we bet on each other as well. But I think just jumping into the deep end was certainly one of it. And, only 1% of shoes are made in the US right now. So we definitely sometimes have a David and Goliath feel, but it's nice to be winning.
Thank you. And Justin, you are going to get the last question in 1 minute or less. What is the biggest bet that you ever made on yourself?
Oh my goodness. It would have to be sort of, taking the reins as a managing partner and CEO of Propellant Media, without a doubt. Beforehand, I just graduated from business school up in New York. I started an e-commerce brand. The e-commerce brand was doing really, really well. Some of the other partners expressed an interest in sort of this concept around programmatic and geofencing marketing. And, the first couple of years were challenging, but, I bet on the fact that, we could, develop a differentiated strategy, become a market leader in this space, and do more things for clients. And, for me, it was daunting because, and I'll just be honest with everyone, I don't use this as an excuse, but more so when you're African American and the digital advertising or in business in general, you sometimes think, well, should I put my face as the, cornerstone of the organization or of this agency? And, for myself, I said, you know what, if anyone doesn't or does want to work with us, that's great. And that's fine. And so we started putting more content, more videos, doing more of that, to put ourselves out there. And I think the bet has paid off. We've been able to build an inclusive organization here at Propellant Media. And I couldn't be more proud of the team and the partners and the leadership here at the organization. And so that what I would say for sure is the biggest bet that I've placed.
That was a literal bet on yourself, on your actual self, your face even.
Yeah, literal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you all. That is actually all we have time for today. So thank you, Thomas, Justin, and Sara, and thank you to Michelle from earlier. Thanks. It was really actually a great episode. So thank you. And thank you to our event sponsors, Oracle, NetSuite, Spectrum Reach, and our supporting sponsors, ADP, FedEx, MetLife, Square, and Staples Connect for helping us bring you this program today. Please join us for our next series event on Thursday, August 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, Co-Roadmap, Perfecting Your Social Media Strategy. That will be a fun one, and we'll focus on ways businesses can learn from their audience and build a tailored social media strategy. In the meantime, please check out the website I run for the Chamber called Co. We have resources curated especially for you related to this event, and they are located at the bottom of your screen, and they'll be coming to you in your inbox. And please let us know how we did today by taking our audience survey on the right-hand side of your screen. Thank you for joining this episode of Co-Roadmap for Rebuilding. Together we will recover and rebuild. Thank you all so much. Take care, everyone.